In 2002, Knott's Berry Farm of Buena Park, California constructed a prototype launch coaster from famed ride manufacturer Intamin of Liechtenstein. The ride would be known as Xcelerator, propelling riders to an advertised speed of 82 miles per hour in just 2.3 seconds. The ride was built on the site of the former Windjammer Surf Racers, which closed back in 2000 after operating for only 3 years. Windjammer was a set of dueling Togo Wild Mouse-esque coasters that suffered from an array of issues, including misaligned track and defective safety restraints. Knott's would sue Togo for $17 million in damages, bulldoze the attraction, and immediately seek out a replacement, naturally wanting something more reliable. So they went with an Intamin hydraulic launch coaster. Gotta love it. I mean, compared to Windjammer, I guess Xcelerator is more reliable, but Xcelerator has unfortunately built up quite the reputation over the years of seemingly being closed more than it's open. Hydraulic launch coasters were immensely popular back in the early 2000s. Intamin built a total of 14 of them between 2002 and 2010. It all started right here with Xcelerator. So you gotta commend Knott's for taking that risk, but at this point in time, many of those other launch coasters have come and gone. Yet Xcelerator has somehow always managed to just hang on by a thread. I was fortunate to first experience the ride back in 2016, and I try to ride it every time I'm in Southern California because frankly, you never know which ride will be your last. In this review, I'll be covering the ride experience in detail so you can know what to expect should you go out to ride it, because these hydraulic launch coasters have become a dying breed. At the moment, there are only 3 operating in the United States, the other 2 being Madugani at Lost Island in Iowa, and of course Storm Runner at Hershey Park. Now, before we dive into the ride experience, I feel like it's important to have an understanding of what makes the hydraulic launch coaster special. These days, most roller coasters are launched using linear synchronous motors, or LSMs. These are a series of magnets or stators in a fixed position to propel the train up to your top speed. They've almost universally become the primary system to propel a train. The hydraulic launch is very different. In this scenario, a catch car latches onto the bottom of your train that is attached to 2 huge cables that stretch all the way down the launch track. When it's time to go, these huge hydraulic canisters will suddenly get pumped with hydraulic fluid, causing this massive flywheel to start spinning, pulling the cable and thus the train all the way down the track so it can make it over the highest point. It is a much more complicated system with many moving parts, including individual brake fins that will drop in case of rollbacks. If just one brake trips a sensor, the whole ride goes down. In exchange, though, you get an extremely punchy experience, which is really what Xcelerator has become known for. This is one of the best launches in the United States, and depending on who you ask, they might say this is the best. Thanks to Google Earth, we can see that Xcelerator has a launch track of more or less 260 feet. The actual launch lasts only 2.3 seconds, so you're traveling at about 113 feet per second, which is pretty ridiculous. You feel like you're being hit by a bus or you're strapped to a rocket launching off to space. You ride Xcelerator for the launch. Everything else is just a bonus, but luckily, the complete experience that Xcelerator offers is quite exceptional. And that's impressive considering the fact that it's only 4 elements. Launch, top hat, and 2 bank turns. Only 2,202 feet of track. But no one goes into Xcelerator expecting a long ride. You're there for just pure speed, about a 60-second ride experience. One of the biggest adrenaline kicks you can get on a roller coaster. And one of the best parts about it? You only have lap bars. Xcelerator is one of those launch coasters that operates with a T-bar, just goes right in between your legs. There is also a seat belt. The seats themselves are very upright to ensure that you have proper posture for the launch. Same style that the original Top Thrill Dragster trains had. The big loading difference between this and Top Thrill Dragster is that here at Knott's Berry Farm, you actually queue up per car, not per row. It's a little confusing. There are 5 cars per train, 2 rows per car, total of 20 riders at a time. So when the gates open, 4 of you will enter the train and choose your row. Unless you are in the front row, in that case, you have a separate queue, which gets quite lengthy. If you want to ride Xcelerator front row, I recommend doing it first thing in the morning. Pretty much any other time of day, you're going to be waiting. But to be honest, Xcelerator always has a bit of a long line. Traditionally because it operates with only 1 train. The attraction has 2, but usually the second train is always either under maintenance or just not working, period. It means this gets one of the longest lines of the park, which can get a little frustrating when you're dealing with a less than 60-second ride experience. And depending on how long you wait, it could be a one and done. But let me just say, when you happen to catch it at the right moment and it's a walk-on, I love riding Xcelerator multiple times in a row. My go-to is usually the back row because the wait isn't long, and I love getting ejected over that top hat. But if the front row line was ever manageable, I think you gotta try the front purely just for the view. There is nothing quite like feeling that speed in your face. 82 miles per hour really is something, or at least that's what they say. For those familiar with the original Top Thrill Dragster or even King Knott, both those attractions famously operated below their advertised speed, around 117 versus 128. And I have to say approximately because one thing with the hydraulic launch system is that it's not going to launch at the same speed every time. Assuming Xcelerator is set up the same way as Dragster and King Knott, it would take an average of the previous 3 trains' top speed to determine how fast you will go. This could be because of weather conditions, how many guests were on the vehicle, or what time of day it is. I know some people, though, will always try to use this to their advantage and hopefully keep their fingers crossed for a rollback. If the previous 3 trains were all packed with people, but then you ride on a train that just doesn't have as many guests, the odds are the computer won't pick as high of a speed, and then suddenly when you don't have as much momentum, you won't make it over the top hat and you'll roll back. It's completely safe. The ride is designed to do that. It's an experience I would love to get on Xcelerator that I have not yet had, but I do have some friends that got a rollback, and I am very jealous of them. At the moment, I cannot confirm an actual speed for Xcelerator's launch, but if there are any former or current team members who operated Xcelerator who happen to know, my shot-in-the-dark guess says something around 76, but I would be shocked if it was actually 82. But fun fact, Xcelerator one time launched at over 100 miles per hour. The ride opened 1 year before Top Thrill Dragster, and because both rides are in the same chain, they did 2 tests at 112 and 117 miles per hour, and the footage is pretty incredible. Shout out to Midway Mayhem for posting this. Can you imagine the airtime going over that top hat? It would be ridiculous. Definitely not within ASTM standards. But in terms of the ride experience you get today, from the station, when the train is all clear, you'll slightly roll back as the train latches onto the catch car. There's a stoplight that'll give you a countdown, and then suddenly you take off, propelling straight towards the top hat, riding alongside the midway so you can have your friends and family watching you off to the side. You dramatically rise up 205 feet in the air as your body is thrust with all these positive G-forces. You're twisting to the right to make it over this top hat. You'll get a quick view of the surrounding area as you look out at Buena Park. And as you start cresting down, the train will once again turn to the right, twisting out of this top hat. When you're in the back row, you get launched over this drop. It is a really strong moment that actually feels like a good drop. And I say that because an experience like King Knott or Top Thrill Dragster was a little different, where you had that spiral, it rotated you 360 degrees on the way down. So you're almost more distracted by the spiral, where here I feel like it's actually more intimidating. From the top hat, you're rocketed into a 110-foot-tall bank turn. I'll say for me personally, I do experience a little bit of a gray out here. This turn is really stretched out to maintain that consistent speed. As you bank to the left, you'll twist out, heading back towards the top hat, and now rotate to the right, diving underneath it. This is a 90-foot-tall bank turn, and there's a pretty solid near miss here. You thread through the top hat's columns as you head towards the brake run, and if you have your hands in there, it might feel a little too close for comfort. And it's from here that you hit the brake run, and those brakes hit hard. Expect your body to lurch forward as you come to a stop. This is when you can catch your breath, you got a big smile on your face, you're looking at your friends and family going, what the heck just happened? It's a really strong ride from both on board the train as well as off it. The teams at Knott's Berry Farm did a great job dressing this thing up. Xcelerator is situated in the boardwalk section of the park. You have palm trees lining the side, a train that looks like a hot rod, an iconic entrance sign, and this beautiful paint job. For years, Xcelerator rocked this faded pink track color, but just a few years ago, it was given a much more stylized look. The launch track and brake run are dark gray to look like the road. As you rise up, it turns into yellow, and then orange, and then finally red. It looks like a sunset. It's a color scheme that we really haven't seen done before, and I have greater appreciation for it when you really focus on how they blended the colors from one into the next. It was so refreshing to see Knott's give this ride the TLC it deserved, and hopefully it sticks around for many more years to come. And I say that because there have been several visits I've had to Knott's Berry Farm where this attraction sat standing but not operating, and its future looked uncertain. No one had really heard anything, and we were starting to get nervous is this thing done for? But at least as of recently, I think it's still got some years left in it. Parts from both Top Thrill Dragster and King Knott were sent over to Knott's Berry Farm to keep Xcelerator going. As much as I'll miss both of those experiences, I'm relieved to see that it means Xcelerator can live a bit longer. I've always been worried about the future of this coaster. Of all the rides in the park, if I had to pick what would be the next coaster to close, my answer will always be Xcelerator. These hydraulic launch coasters are expensive. This thing probably eats through their maintenance budget, and it always has reliability issues. Every year it comes around, I wonder if this is going to be the last time that we see Xcelerator operate. I'm grateful it hasn't happened yet, but frankly, as we're in this post-merger world, the Six Flags mega chain has been closing those problematic rides in favor of more reliable ones, and Xcelerator fits the description of those rides that they might want to get rid of. So I wouldn't be shocked in the slightest if it's only here for a couple more years. I'd love to be wrong, I don't want it to go anywhere, but mentally, I've fully prepared myself for the day that Knott's Berry Farm says, hey, Xcelerator is done for good. So for that reason, I say, if you have the opportunity to make it out to Knott's Berry Farm, I highly recommend taking a ride on Xcelerator. For the attraction's final score, I give it a 9 out of 10. It is such a high quality experience. I would take it over several other notable hydraulic launch coasters such as Stealth at Thorpe Park. I know many people who preferred it over Top Thrill Dragster, though for me personally, I was a Dragster fan. Though I can appreciate the extra track length so it's not over literally right after the top hat. At the moment, it's my second favorite roller coaster at Knott's Berry Farm, right behind Ghost Rider, but I would not blame anyone if this was their favorite. So let me know down in the comments below if you've been to Knott's Berry Farm, if you've taken a ride on Xcelerator, if you agree with the points that I brought up, and if you think there's anything I missed, be sure to post it down below. And stay tuned for more here at Coaster Studios, and I'll see you next time.